It's time for Windows Weekly. Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley are here. Lots of news to talk about. The Fall Creators Update. It's almost soup, and yes, it's still named the Fall Creators Update. There are problems with the Surface Pro, but they've been fixed. And what to look for in tomorrow's Microsoft earnings. It's all coming up next on Windows Weekly.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Windows Weekly is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com.
This is Windows Weekly with Paul Thurrott and Mary Jo Foley, episode 527, recorded Wednesday, July 19th, 2017. The one without the nuts. Windows Weekly is brought to you by WordPress. WordPress powers 28% of all websites, including mine. Get 15% off your new website at wordpress.com/windows. That's wordpress.com/windows. And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Home plays a big role in your life. That's why Quicken Loans created Rocket Mortgage. It lets you apply simply, understand the entire mortgage process fully, so you can be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. Get started at rocketmortgage.com/windows. It's time for Windows Weekly, the show where we cover the latest news from Microsoft with the two big news makers. No, wait a minute.
We're something makers.
There's something. Bookmakers.
Troublemakers.
Muckrakers. Investigative reporters. Mary Jo Foley from allaboutmicrosoft.com at ZDNet. Hello, Mary Jo.
Hello, Leo.
Did the gong make it back safe and sound?
It did.
Good.
It did.
Good. Because Paul Thurrott's also here, as you know, from Thurrott.com. He may need to be gonged. One never knows.
I feel a gong coming, Leo.
I feel a gong a-coming. Coming around the bend. Between the two of them, there's not much that happens in Redmond that they don't know about and report on in this show. Each and every week, each and every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC. Glad you're here live for the show. If you are, don't forget you can join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. And Ron and Kayla are visiting from Tampa. They're here. Ron's got a smile. Kayla's just a long-suffering spouse. No, she's being very kind about it.
I feel sad for these people.
I do too. I always apologize to the wives
Me
that
too.
husbands
I
bring.
know.
Or the husbands sometimes, too.
Ron
Yes,
said we
sometimes-
wanted to come to iOS today, but all we could get was Windows Weekly.
It's like you brought me all the way out to San Francisco, and I'm sitting in a podcast studio.
No. I think they're glad to be here, and if they're not, they're just being polite.
I'm sure they are.
So, it's almost soup yet, according to this note. Windows 10
Gross.
fall soupy.
A fall brew of some
Fall
sort.
brew of a stew of Windows treats.
Yum.
What have they wrought?
Whoops! Wait a minute, I pushed the wrong button and it says something weird. Here we go. What are we? Well, there was a new Fast Ring preview on Friday, right? Mm-hmm. And then there was a bug bash. By the way, I really enjoyed last week when we had
Donna Sarkar.
Donna Sarkar. That's
And not that other guy.
The other guy
Shall
didn't show
remain
up,
nameless.
but Donna was there, and she has lots of really interesting things to say. So she apparently pushed the button 2 days later and put out the Fast Ring 16241.
Mm-hmm.
And then you think there'll be another one this week?
There might be Friday. They're hinting.
Yeah. Not today or tomorrow, though, is what they were saying.
So that's your indicator
But I feel like
that we're close.
we're like in the home stretch right now, right? Like there's probably no more major features coming. I don't know if I could say it's feature complete at this point, but maybe.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yep.
I would like for them to surprise us on this one because, frankly, well, this is for later, but there are things that they talked about that are not coming.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
But we knew we've known a lot of those for a while. I think they telegraphed a lot of them, right?
Yeah.
It's not too much of a surprise. Well,
no.
What exactly what are we looking for that'll be very exciting?
We're
You
both
mean
like,
that
For those
isn't
of us,
in the...
well, for those of us who aren't on an insider's ring, who just
Yeah.
live life
I see.
normally,
So actually,
not
it's
in the
interesting you
fast
bring that
lane
up.
like you. Yeah.
Let me bring up this document because I actually I had written an article about what was not going to be in the Fall Creators Update. And then I thought to myself, well, I should present the flip side. What is coming, right? And do kind of a rundown of the features. And I got to say, this surprised me a little bit. This is a really long list. So I decided to break it out into individual articles. So I published one, I think yesterday, about an individual feature. But I'll just run through this real quick.
Yeah.
OneDrive files on demand, the new version of placeholders, probably the biggest new feature. The My People interface, where you can access your favorite people, from the taskbar.
Let my people free.
Yep. The first implementation of the Fluent design system with some acrylic material, reveal highlights and translucencies and things like that across various UIs and applications.
Well, when you put it like that.
Lots of high DPI improvements. Improved share experience. Many updates to notifications in Action Center. Many updates to Microsoft Edge, but that's been very typical. But a lot of it around the reading mode, the reading stuff, books, PDFs, and web pages. Also full screen mode. The ability to pin websites to the taskbar like you could do in IE. Lots of Cortana improvements, PIN and password recovery from the lock screen, lots of task manager improvements. They added the GPU tracker, remember? They also made the performance, I think it's the performance tab. You can get kind of a more granular look at the various tasks. So you can break down like Edge processes in a more fine-grained way. Delivery optimization, remember, was kind of put in the previous update, but now will be used, right? Meaning that you will actually get updates from other computers on the internet and from the web, and you can control how that works. And let's see, the console stuff, where a bash on Windows is being upgraded so that you can get different distributions through the store. Lots of Skype improvements, lots of Hyper-V improvements, virtual machine gallery, VM share, and revert VM, like the auto checkpoint feature, which I can't believe wasn't in there 10 years ago. Storage sense updates, settings updates, Windows Update improvements, lots of stuff.
You're forgetting the biggest thing.
Oh, emojis.
What?
No.
But that is big.
There's tons of security stuff in this for enterprise users.
Oh, you gotta drag it down like that, really?
Come on, man!
No, that's big. Come on.
Okay, emojis versus Windows Defender Application Guard, which is the thing that isolates potential malware and blows it up in a container. Come on!
I saw that and I kind of glazed a little bit.
Oh man, really?
Well,
its codename was Barcelona. Hey, where are you going in 2 weeks?
Yeah, there you go. She has you there, Paul.
Come on.
But emojis.
Emojis.
Adding back into the operating system the enhanced mitigation experience toolkit stuff. Also in the fall creators update.
In my defense, I'm not 100% sure if all of those features are available to individuals or if they require an enterprise SKU and that kind of thing.
They
so
do.
that might be why I left them out.
Yeah, but still, I mean, if you're a business customer and you're looking at fall creators update, like, I don't think you're going to care about the emojis as much as you might care about these things. Just a guess.
It's close.
Okay. Yeah, because I was thinking too, like, what is in the fall creators update? And the first thing I started thinking was, well, there's all this enterprise security stuff that actually is a pretty huge deal.
Yeah, I actually, you can look at the Fall Creators Update as a response of sorts to the complaints about the original Creators Update. And there are complaints to be had, in various areas. One, that there weren't a lot of creator features. But the other one is what you just raised. I mean, I don't feel like there were a lot of business features in that release. And you're asking businesses around the world to upgrade to this major new version because, and so I think they're smart to make those changes.
Yeah, me too. Same.
I'm going to just close my window because I've got someone mowing his lawn right next to me.
We don't hear it. We don't hear it. The miracle of the Bob Heil PR40. We don't hear it. But go ahead,
That's never going to happen in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing for people who Paul just had that really good list that he's compiling. There's a list out there also. If you follow Brandon LeBlanc on Twitter, he posted to OneDrive yesterday his list of what's new in the Creators Update and let people download.
I did that for nothing.
Well, now is he a Microsoftie? Or?
He's a Microsoft guy, right? So that's a little different list. Yeah.
Okay.
And what he did was
the Star Trek guy. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah. What's his?
Yep.
Hold on, I gotta look this up. I did not know that.
Yep. So what he did, though, is he took the blog posts that they've been doing as they've released each insider preview, and he kind of compiled them into a document. So I actually saw a couple things in his list. If he's listening today, he listens to Windows Weekly. Like camera insights, the camera roll insights, and the lasso thing. Are those still in there? Because they're on his list, but I thought they pulled those out of Creators Update.
Say again?
Anyway,
I'm sorry. I was just looking at his list.
Remember camera roll insights, and then there was a feature called Lasso, I think.
Yeah, Cortana Lasso. So I actually have those on my list because they mentioned them, but I haven't gotten into them yet because I'm going to write about it eventually. So I'm not 100% sure, but actually, it's funny. I actually paused on both of those things.
You did?
I was wondering about that myself.
Yeah, they got cut from one of the last insider builds, I know. And so I assume that meant they were cut.
Okay.
But maybe that's not true. Maybe they were just cut from some interim builds and they're going to come back. I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the Windows Insider program today, right? Cut from interim builds means they could be in the next release.
True. That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know this thing. I'm sorry. I'm still looking at this thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
man,
he
I spent a
posted
lot of
it
time
yesterday.
looking this up.
You know what? He posted it yesterday because somebody else, I forget who asked him on Twitter. Someone's like, so what is going to be in the Fall Creators Update?
That's a weird coincidence because I literally kind of came to the same question, but not because of Twitter.
So there you have it. You can compare lists.
I don't see the tweet, but maybe I'm just not looking hard.
Yeah, I think he left it up there.
Looks like he did an AMA on Reddit too last week.
Yeah, they did an AMA about Feedback Hub. And then they've been doing a stream of the Bug Bash. Every day they've been streaming that. What is the Bug Bash?
Is that internal only, or can we all go?
You can bash too with them. Yeah, it's insiders helping them squash bugs, the last few bugs, and then they stream back to the room with Donna and Brandon and North Face Hiker, all the people, Jen from Microsoft, Jen Gentleman, all those people are in the room and they're talking to the insiders about what they're working on, quests and all that kind of thing. They
streamed it on Mixer, it looks like, or something like
that. They did.
I have a bug. I can't get Timeline to work.
I think he must have taken that link down because I don't see it. I think it's out of his.
There's a good reason for that.
Yeah, he probably wasn't.
It's not there anymore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay.
But yesterday
Brandon, sorry to out you there.
Yesterday they had in the Bug Bash Joe Belfiore.
A plug for the new Satya Nadella book.
Yes.
On
We're all looking forward to that.
Yeah. He retweeted.
Is it called How I Killed Windows 10 Mobile?
It's called Hit Refresh. The quest to rediscover Microsoft's soul and imagine a better future for everyone.
Coming September. Coming in September.
He says actually, Greg Shaw says my good fortune to work on it with Satya Nadella.
So, that must be the co-writer.
Yeah, he's one of the guys who wrote it with him.
Yeah, no relation to Frank Shar, I hope.
No, actually.
No. Satya's
but
name
a long time
is a
Microsoft
little bit bigger than Frank's on. Greg's on this.
Yeah, he's probably a little more famous.
Yeah. Hit refresh. Actually, we'll all be reading that. Forward by Bill Gates. You'll be.
We'll probably have to read it.
Get your underliners out.
Oh yeah. I'll read it in Edge and use the virtual highlighting feature.
You know what? You could sell that on leanpub.com with your other books. Just Paul's annotated.
The annotated.
Hit refresh.
Right.
Yeah.
My retort.
What does this mean? What does this mean?
Yeah, that book is, speaking of that book, it's going to be interesting to see what he puts in there because, at first people thought it was going to be lessons he learned as CEO or something like that. But he says no, that it's more going to be about things he did to try to change Microsoft's culture.
Oh,
and
that's actually much more interesting to me.
Way more interesting.
You bet. Yeah, I was just talking about that with Andrew Cross, who's the president and CTO of NewTek, the people who do our TriCaster.
I saw the Kiki Star camera photos.
Kiki was there. It was so fun. But Andrew was very complimentary of Microsoft. And said, I said, I go to every company. I talk to people. The smartest people I meet are at Microsoft. And he said, we were talking about Ballmer, and he said, Ballmer added a lot of value to Microsoft. And he said, what Ballmer should get credit for is knowing when to step down. He didn't have to.
He wanted
he had to. Okay.
Yeah, I think he was helped out a little bit.
And then the choice of Satya Nadella was remarkable.
Yeah. It was the right choice for the right time, for sure.
He said no one would have thought. He said I knew Satya, but was one of the executives I met with, but it was kind of a little bit out of left field, that pick, but obviously the perfect pick. Yeah.
I think if any of us had bet at the time when all the names were circulating, I don't think any of us would have guessed it was going to be Nadella.
No, I knew the guy. In fact, one of my best friends from Microsoft was his speechwriter when he was still in the server group.
Oh, interesting.
So I thought, this is unbelievable. I'm going to have the greatest access to, and no, because of course, once he moved up to CEO, he had a whole new team around him. Yep. And that guy's not at Microsoft anymore, which is why I even mentioned that. But at the time, I was like, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
No.
Well, very interesting. I mean, I would like to read this book because obviously this is this is something Nadella knows a little bit about, changing the culture of Microsoft.
Changing culture is really hard.
Hard to do, had to happen, and I think you could argue has happened very successfully.
Yeah. No, I don't think you can argue to the contrary. I mean, I know there's always going to be the old school folks who want things the way they were in the 90s or whatever, and I get that, but not realizing the world has changed is the problem.
The world has changed quite a bit.
I don't know if you noticed. You could just open the window. Yep.
Good. Well, that'll be interesting. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to distract you from that.
No.
Yeah.
It's good.
Definitely relevant and coming up. It's in September when that book comes out. So.
Yep.
Yeah, and September also is when Fall Creators Update should be out.
Well,
a lot will happen in September.
Bringing it home. And also Microsoft Ignite.
Yes,
I wonder if his book will be like a giveaway at the show.
Oh, yeah. You know what? That wouldn't be that surprising, right?
Yeah. If he gave it to everyone who went to Ignite, he would sell more books than I have.
He'll sell books.
He should just sit there and autograph copies.
He's going to sell books. He does not have to. He does not have to push it. I think a lot of people will want to know this. And it's one of those books that it's a business book. People will want to.
Right.
Well, what is that? Yeah, let's.
Yeah. He should have called it Microsoft 3.0, Mary Jo.
I would have let him have that title.
Bill Gates did write the forward.
By Mary Jo Foley.
Bill Gates wrote the forward. Look at that. Yep. Microsoft 2.0 was Mary Jo Foley's best-selling tome. Bestseller. When was that? When was 2.0?
You know when it was? It was 9 years ago.
Holy cow.
I know. Yeah. It was right when Bill Gates retired. It was time to come out with that. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
A lot has happened in 9 years.
Yeah, much has happened since then.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So anything else to say about the creators update?
Yeah, we should talk about the server thing, but also the amazing naming problem, which is awesome.
I saw Donna Sakar tweet that they pushed out a Windows Server 2016.
Yeah. First Windows Server Insider build ever. Last week.
Wow.
Ever. Yep. It's build 16.237. And so this is the insider build for the feature update that's coming to Windows Server 2016 in September also. And so this is not called the Fall Creators Update of Windows Server. This is called 1709. That's all it's called.
What a great name.
It's kind of easy, right? 2017, the 9th month. There it is.
Yep.
And so in this particular insider build, you're seeing the first iteration of what Microsoft's changing with Windows Server, they talked about a lot of this at Build, where they're going to be changing what Nano Server looks like and how it works, that it's going to be smaller and optimized for container use. What else is in there? A preview based on PowerShell 6.0, SMB volume mounting, changes around Cloud Guest. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's coming as part of the fall feature refresh to Windows Server that's in this Insider build. So if you want to see this, if you want to be in the Insider program for Server, you can sign up for that.
I would guess that if you're you're using Server, you'd kind of like to have a machine set aside for this. Yeah. I mean, somebody should in your IT organization, right? So you know what's going to be coming. Paul, I know, disagrees with this. Well, people don't upgrade Server. No, they often don't upgrade. So
I just don't think a lot of people are going to do it. You know, it's interesting by incredible places. I mean, in other words, a lot of insiders see this and think, "Oh, this is something cool. I'll look at this." And maybe for the first time, they install Server, and then they can spend the next 27 hours trying to configure the Win's control panel or whatever. But I think
obviously, you're right. A working IT guy is, a sysadmin is probably thinking, "I got enough problems. I don't."
Yeah, that's all. I think it's cool they're doing this. Don't get me wrong. I wonder about the viable audience for it. That's all.
Right. It's not going to be like it is with client, where people are like, "This is what you should do with emojis." Blah. That's not what you do with Server, right? You're not going to be like, "Here's what you should be doing with the ReFS, the file system." You know. I mean,
some people. Nobody got time for that, right?
A couple of weeks ago, I was talking about the Hyper-V improvements in Windows 10 and with Raphael, and I said, I bet you could name a virtual machine using only emoji now. And he's like, I'm not even going to try that because I know you're dangerous. Right. And then that is like the dumbest thing.
Dangerous.
What
could possibly go wrong? But no, it makes sense because it's just Unicode.
Sure.
Of course you can. You'd have to. Why would you'd have to be artificially block that?
And nothing says I take my job seriously more than a teddy bear emoticon followed by 3 vomiting emoticons.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Well, we're wrong. See, here's Pete Cook, who's listening. I am that person. I installed Windows Server Insider over the weekend.
Sorry.
Is he a sysadmin though?
Is
he? Or is he
obviously some people are going to do. I don't mean it like. I mean,
infrastructure engineer is his title on Twitter. So yes.
Yeah. No.
No, there are people who I understand what you're saying too. It's like you're not going to go in there probably and weigh in the way that people weigh in on the Insider preview. Like, I don't like the dark theme. It's like it's going to be a different kind of thing going on.
Right. I don't think the nano part of this is small enough.
Yeah, could you guys make nano smaller somehow?
We want it more nano-y.
Could it be thinner too, not just smaller?
No, it's real. I think it's good because, already, I feel like already a lot of IT departments have the people who are the ones who are the first line of defense, right? Like they see the early builds of stuff and they are watching out and warning the IT organization, hey, they're doing this. But this, I think, may broaden the pool of people who take that on.
Totally. Yeah. And by the way, you could make a great argument that those people are among the most valuable in any organization, right? I mean, I wasn't making fun of them. I just mean most people are in those positions are overworked as it is.
They're a little busy. Right.
Yeah, that's all.
No, I know.
But there's often somebody, I don't know, I'm making this up. I would assume, knowing nothing about the subject, but why should that stop me? That there's probably in many organizations somebody whose job it is to kind of keep a lookout on the futures and configuration issues. But
you could take that upon yourself. I mean, and that's what makes you valuable. That that's
right.
Actually,
but
kind of how I.
On the other hand, it's the first Insider's build. How much useful information you're going to glean from that?
Well, remember this is for September though, so actually we're pretty close to the thing. So this might, in this case, it might make some sense. Yeah.
How many organizations though, when September comes along, or upgrade immediately?
Yep.
Nobody,
7.
right? Yeah.
Yep.
Because that's the last thing,
Yeah, I mean, especially for Server, I mean, people will take longer to do that, and. You don't have, it's just like client, you can defer upgrades. People will be deferring upgrades to a point. But it's interesting that this is now something you can look at if you want to.
When they released Windows NT 4, I went to the local, I can't remember now if it was Software Etc. or Egghead, but whichever one, and bought a box like that day, that night. I mean, I'm guessing that doesn't happen anymore. I could be wrong.
Yep.
I'm not going to, I don't want to bring this up, but it's in the notes, and I hate to, you guys get to steer this conversation, but really we're still debating whether autumn or fall was a good name for this.
Well, the reason is Microsoft has, because of complaints, presumably, they've had to name this differently in different regions that don't use the word fall. They use the word autumn.
Then that is confusing.
Yeah.
And then somebody pointed out, I don't know if Brad or somebody else, but somebody pointed out, in the Southern Hemisphere, it's spring. So
yeah,
that's a little insensitive in a way, you could position this, and I think Brad did, as kind of a Microsoft U.S.-centric viewpoint,
which is not good, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually, I kind of, there's an anti-PC part of me, meaning politically correct part of me, that kind of recoils at that, but I have to kind of agree that that's...
Well, they're an international company, and they have customers all over the world, and to use a U.S.-centric
also,
designation.
there's some evidence that this wasn't going to be the name, and that at the last minute they decided to change it to kind of align it more with the Creators Update. And that, to me, suggests a kind of slapdash kind of non-strategy thing going on there as well, which is also not hugely complimentary. So...
you wonder, though, could it have been because of a potential lawsuit or something, thinking back to Metro?
By the way, I'm reasonably, it's funny, I was just talking about something else related to possible lawsuits with Microsoft today, and you have to think like 75% of the stuff that happens is potential lawsuit caused,
Oh, God, yeah.
Can you imagine the horrific nature of having to live under that umbrella all the time? Let's pass it through legal, and they're like, nope.
Right. Yep. Legal says no.
Yeah.
That's true.
That could be.
Yeah. That's, by the way, where that anti-PC thing comes from. Is
What's that?
Just the idea that you have to ask permission and you have to consider other people's sensitivities, and it's just it's so much work to consider how people feel, and can't we just do what we want to do and not worry about other people? And
the problem with the PC stuff is it never ends, because you can say something really reasonable, like we shouldn't be this way toward this group, and you're like, oh my God, obviously.
Right.
And then, but it just keeps going. It never stops.
Right.
And we're going to PC our way out of doing anything eventually, because we're so worried about, harming someone's feelings or whatever,
Well, but I think if you're a global company, anything you do that smacks of U.S.-centric thinking is not going to help you.
No.
Yep.
So just from a pure marketing, it's like, what was it, the Chevy Nova?
Yes, I was just thinking about that.
Where Nova,
which, by the way, I don't know if you're a
doesn't
Planet of the
go.
Apes fan, but if you see the new Planet of the Apes movie, you know that the old movies had a character named Nova, and they explain that name beautifully in the new one. But be that as it may.
How is the new one? You like it?
I haven't seen it yet. I just read about it, but it's supposed to be fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. It makes you root for the apes, I hear.
Yeah. Like, I was always rooting for the apes.
Those humans.
Those damn dirty humans.
Those damn dirty humans. They did it.
But Mary Jo mentioned earlier that the Windows Server name is 1709. Oh, look, there's a name that makes sense, and it doesn't hurt anybody, and it makes sense everywhere. And why don't we just call it that?
Right.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll go that route now that those two things are in alignment, starting with the spring update, instead of calling it spring.
Just stop getting cute with the names. There's no reason.
Yeah, and the thing about 1709 is once you understand that that's the year 17 and the month 9, it not only makes sense, it communicates valuable information about it.
It does.
I just think it's a good name. It's not very sexy.
Right.
But it's a good name. And of course, remember on the consumer side, they might argue, well, we have to have some consumer.
But on the consumer side, I would argue that the name doesn't matter anyway, because you're always running the latest version.
Still Windows 10. Yeah,
you don't have to worry about that. In fact, get rid of the 10 while we're at it.
Yeah, it's just Windows.
Yep.
It's updated regularly. So
it's like it's a service.
You believe that the files on demand is a sufficient reason to do the whole thing, that you need look no
for
further.
an individual. And that was the thing. I had started to write an article, like Brandon apparently already has. Damn him.
But then he pulled it down. I don't know what happened. Do you think he got in trouble for it?
No. There is a link. If you look on Twitter, Chris.
No link. I'm going to write this article. Do not link.
Stop.
To Brandon.
There is no link. It's gone.
It's there.
Anyway,
okay.
what I'm gonna do is individually document the biggest ones, maybe the 10 or 15, whatever it is, and then I'll create an article where I link to all those, and that will be sort of like the thing that Brenda did, because obviously all I do is copy him. But
no, you know what? Yours will be interesting because his doesn't do that, right? His is just here's the things we said in the blog post. Blah. That's it. Okay. I want somebody to tell me why I should use the feature.
What I did was I went through all of their blog posts and I listed the features, and then I organized them in order of importance based on what I feel is important. Mm-hmm. Then I realized this thing is like 3,000 words long.
It's not,
and I haven't written anything.
Yeah, that's not an insignificant amount of work. I mean,
no, it's not.
So
making the list isn't that hard, but then explicating it is considerable.
Right. Yeah, so I'll take a couple of months. I'll do this over time. Anyway, the feature that I sort of picked is the single biggest one, I think. The one that will impact most people in the most positive way is OneDrive Files on Demand. And this is that placeholders feature returned with improvements, right? Supposedly universal compatibility, meaning applications in the past that would hit a placeholder would not be able to open that file. It wouldn't work correctly. There was some kind of weirdness in the file system. And then also the file size issue. If you had a 16, 32, maybe even a 64 gig device, which is still possible these days, you could link to OneDrive, not download a single file, but just the size of the placeholders would eat up your entire hard drive space. So for those and other reasons, they had to get rid of placeholders. But people like the ability to navigate the entire OneDrive folder structure from the PC, and went online to be able to access those files and to be able to, arbitrarily say, I want this offline, I want this online, that kind of thing. So it does all that stuff, and I have to say, I only have it on a couple of computers. One of this empty office thing you see around me means a lot of my computers are not here, so I haven't really used it as much.
You moved your computers before you moved you?
Well,
what are you, insane?
Listen, what I'm doing is a logistical nightmare that we don't have time for. But
come to think of it, that's a challenge.
Yeah, I usually have a bunch of computers that I do testing on, but I've kind of boiled it down. Anyway, on the computers I have used it on, and when I go away, like when I go to Barcelona, for example, that computer will be on the insider preview because I feel like it's going to be pretty much done by that point. But it works great, and the performance is great. Even the initial sync is great, and the initial sync is like the one thing on OneDrive that's always been terrible. And it does a really good job, even like content rich folders. Like I have folders that have like tons of movies in them. First time I navigate in, it loads the thumbnails, and you can kind of see a few of them fill in, but it pretty much goes right away. And then subsequent visits to that folder, now they're cached, and they come up, and it's like the normal thumbnail. It's the 30 seconds into the movie or however they do it. It really works great. And if you've been kind of pining away for this feature, or if you're one of those people who literally never upgraded because of this, and I know those people, this is going to do it for you. This really works well.
Yeah, you've been complaining about how OneDrive works for a while.
Never stop complaining, Leo. But this one's good. This is good.
This doesn't fix.
I'm glad to hear the syncing thing. That's like making me interested in this because, typically, I'll take a bunch of pictures on my phone, and I'll go look for the pictures in my OneDrive, and like the next day, and it hasn't synced yet. That's
an excellent point. I just went to do it on this computer, but I don't have it here. Yep. So I do this a lot now. It's funny how your workflow changes because of the cloud. Up until not that long ago, I would go take some pictures, maybe like of a product, because I'm going to put it on my website. Then I would come to my computer, plug in the wire, download them to the computer, do that kind of thing. These days, I go take the photos. I walk back. I don't even need the camera. I just go to the web, go to photos.google.com or OneDrive.com, whatever, and there they are. And you just download them to the computer that way. The phone never has to be connected to the computer. It just happens automatically. And actually now you'll be able to do it right from the file system, drag and drop.
But mine doesn't happen automatically at all. There can be like a day lag for my OneDrive.
This is on Android though, right?
Yeah.
So it's possible. I usually use the iPhone. If you need to make sure it happens, load the app.
Yeah. That's what I need to do.
And then that will
the
trigger
iPhone, that is for sure true, because the iPhone background stuff, and then once stuff's in the background, it usually kills it.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's
but I don't
the
think
case.
that's. I don't know if that's well.
Well, I mean, in the sense that
Android's a little bit more forgiving on backgrounding.
That's true. I know, but it's Microsoft, and Microsoft would
They
not,
may not be.
run constantly in the background.
Yeah,
like
that's true.
I would imagine.
It couldn't hurt to open the app. Yeah.
It's something to try.
Yeah, because Google Photos, of course, backs it up immediately. It's like boom.
Yeah, Google doesn't care. Google will eat your last 1% of population.
Actually, though, that is
one little insight into your life.
That is the case on an iPhone, that Google Photos doesn't do that because
really?
for that, because Google doesn't have a choice of that when Apple shuts them down. So you do have to open Google Photos from time to time.
How you have sync set up, you probably have it to only sync over Wi-Fi, so you have to make sure you're connected to a Wi-Fi network.
Yeah, that's right.
How did you know that about Mary Jo?
He knows I'm very conservative.
Because you're on Verizon, that's how he knows.
Yes.
Well, no, I mean, I think most people probably have it configured like that.
I'm on T-Mobile. I don't pay for bandwidth.
Well, screw you, Leo. That must be nice.
Oh, yeah.
I actually, unlimited doesn't have quotes around it.
Sort of unlimited.
Yeah.
Let's take a little break. I'm going to talk a little bit about our sponsor. You guys can grab a cup of coffee or something. I don't know what it is you do when I'm talking, but you pack a box. Paul, I know. Paul, go pack a box while I talk about WordPress.com. For years, I think since 2002 or 3, I had a hosted WordPress site. I paid for the server and I put the WordPress software on there. And I have to say, it worked really, really well, except I found I spent more time messing around because it's fun and updating and playing with my blog than I did actually blogging. I'm now on WordPress.com. Same great software that powers 28% of the internet, but they do the hosting, by the way, very affordably, and they keep it up to date. They give you all the help and support you could ever want. Really great 24/7 support. Plus, at WordPress.com, you're part of a big community, so you get extra traffic to your blog because of it. WordPress.com, whether you're looking to create a personal blog, a business site, or both, you'll make a big impact when you build your website on WordPress.com. It'll guide you through the process. You don't have to be a web developer. Of course, if you are, you'll love WordPress. Hundreds of themes to get you started. You pick the template. I'll show you my blog. It's leolaporte.com. If I spell my name right, I'll go there. I'm using the template I'm using is called 2017. Very modern. It's this year's template. And I love it. I not only love how it looks, and I think I've messed with the fonts. I've messed with the images. I love it that I can embed a slideshow from my Smug Mug. On the right, you'll see tweets are automatically pulled into the blog, as are Instagram photos. It has links to everything I do. And this is all easily done automatically. And the best thing is I've got commenting with great anti-spam and a share button that encourages people to like and share my stuff across the board. When they like it, it shows up on the front page with enough likes. You can easily share it to Twitter, Facebook, Google+, and other sites. More websites run on WordPress than any other platform because WordPress is the best. Tested by time. Tested by fire. I want you to go to WordPress.com/Windows. When you go to WordPress.com/Windows, you can get 15% off your brand new website. Very affordable pricing, too. WordPress.com/Windows. Windows Weekly is on the air. Paul Thurrott. About to move. Mary Jo Foley just moved. Is there something about this show that makes people leave their homes and families?
Move.
Get the heck out of Dodge. Are you trying to avoid something?
I moved closer to Mary Jo.
You did?
I also moved closer to Brad.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that Emmaus, Pennsylvania is closer to Manhattan than Dedham, Massachusetts?
Yep.
That confounds logic.
I know. I don't. Honestly, I'm confused by the geography of the eastern United States. I'm constantly amazed by the distances and how unlike what I thought they are.
It's roughly equal, isn't it? Maybe not. I guess.
No, it's
Philly's close to New York. That's right.
It's about an hour closer.
Wow. Well, gosh, I hope you go to Rattle and Hum more often. Have more.
Well, I mean, one thing I'm going to be testing is driving there. It actually kind of makes sense.
Oh, because you used to take the train.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you take what's the nearest station?
Yeah, so It depends. It's Philly or Wilmington. Going south, Wilmington, but going north, Philly probably makes more sense.
How far is
That's
Philadelphia
close.
from Emmaus?
That's like
Yeah,
2
it's about an
hours.
hour. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just trying to get the lay of the land because I'm coming out. I'm coming out. I want a soft pretzel dipped in butter. I want a little of that Amish cheese. I'm coming out. Are the Amish?
Please come to the Thurrott Estates.
I know it looks
It's
cool.
like this
It's gorgeous.
silly palatial.
It looks palatial.
downsized thing.
It does.
You're near Hershey, Pennsylvania, or not?
I don't know. Actually, I have no idea where we are.
What?
I don't really know much about Pennsylvania.
Hershey.
It's really green.
Wait, Mary Jo, you're thinking I have to visit to the Hershey chocolate factory?
No, there's a really good brewery there.
Oh, that's right.
I've
talked about it before.
By the way,
yeah.
I've gotten a bunch of emails from people about the area, and some of them have included that kind of information. Not just Leinenkugel, but some really good, like craft breweries. Yeah,
I think you're going to be very happy.
you could do an Eastern Pennsylvania brewery tour.
That's right.
By the way,
Yeah.
Emmaus
Beer
is a town mentioned in the Gospel of Luke.
Oh, that's why we're going there, Leo.
Yeah. That's why you have to spell it right if you're going to do it. If you're gonna
Denim curiously missing from the Bible. Don't know why.
I have to spell it right because I want to find the Wikipedia entry for Emmaus, but I don't know. How do you spell it?
Emmaus.
A-U-S. All right, I am spelling it right.
Emmaus,
like-
son of
That
Emmaus,
sounds like E-mouse.
cousin
Are you,
Emos.
are
Yeah.
you spelling it right?
Wow.
You know how to spell your own town, do you?
Yeah. I think so.
This is a number that staggers me.
Mm-hmm.
The first Creators Update release is now on 50% of all Win 10 PCs.
Except for one thing. At this point in deployment, the anniversary update was on 75% of PCs.
Oh, so it isn't a good number.
Well, it depends on how you look at things.
Well, I mean, Microsoft controls this, right? This is not, because it's not volitional. You have to take it, don't you?
That's right. So they've slowed down the process, but most likely on purpose. Actually, obviously on purpose.
Why?
Because of what happened with the anniversary update. Remember, they had the Kindle issue where computers were blue screening. They had the webcam issue. And what am I missing? There was another one. Well, they had some issues, let's say. And they decided this time that they would take this one slow and get it right. And actually, can you think of any big issues with the Creators Update? Well, I mean, except on Atom Pro.
No, that's one of the things that's cool.
But but for people who get it legitimately, like in other words, they wait for Windows Update, it happens, the thing says you're good to go, here you go. I think the success rate has been phenomenally high.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
So
kind
it
of,
does beg the question, why is Microsoft slow playing this?
Well, why do they have to do 2 a year? I mean, we're
Why?
bumping up to the
Why,
next one
Microsoft?
too. That's
Why?
that's
Right.
the issue. So
Right.
we're
Right.
2 months away from the next one or whatever, and we're only at 50%.
We'll get to 100, not 100, but we'll 90%, which would be effectively 100.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think so. In fact, I don't have this data in front of me, but I think the Creators Update itself, the anniversary update itself, the month or two before the Creators Update come out was pretty much there. It was every computer that's going to be upgraded has been upgraded, right? Because you've got some that are still running older versions because of enterprises that are keeping them there.
Now, what's the deal?
yeah.
You said Atom processors have a problem. What's the deal there? I didn't hear about that one.
Do you have a good handle on this one, Mary Jo? I mean, it's.
So I didn't write about this. Edbot has been writing about this on our site, and he was saying some of the older Atom processors, the Clover Trail ones, still I think they got some updates to Windows 10, but they can't get the Creators Update. And the reason is drivers, right? Isn't that the reason?
You mean, but processor drivers? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in
but
other
Microsoft
words,
knows this, right?
they've known about it for months.
They've said on their
months.
forum sites that they know and that they're working to remedy the situation. And this is mostly older hardware, like 2 to 3 years old. So, when Ed first saw it, I think his idea was, okay, remember when Microsoft first came out with the Windows 10, they had this confusing caveat in there about this will support you for the life of your device. And no one really knew what that meant. Because, you're like, well, what if I still am using the device and it's still under warranty from the OEM? Isn't that supported? So I think Ed was thinking maybe this is going to be the test ground for when this idea of lifetime of the device happens.
By the way, I'd love to have this thing defined, but I will just say in this case that, come on, like, first of all, these are lower end, older CPUs, computers.
Like 3 or 4 years old or older?
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think they're older in
I'm
some
not sure.
cases. Yeah. I mean, I'm not actually 100% sure either, but I believe some of them are actually Windows 8 computers. So here's the thing, like, first of all, to the typical user, as you move from Windows 10 version to Windows 10 version, I'm not even sure the casual user would notice a lot of the new features or whatever, right? So those, a version of Windows 10 that's 1 or 2 versions old is still supported. It's, you're getting updates and security updates and all that stuff. So, I don't know. I don't think this is that traumatic. I don't think it impacts a lot of people that care, that kind of thing. But, well, no, I really don't. But I think the bigger issue here is what's not being said. Who or what is responsible for delivering these drivers? I would argue it has to be Intel. And, we know that with Windows 10 and Intel in particular, there's been some weird issues around support and who's doing what. And Microsoft and Intel have kind of fought over that. And, they seemingly kind of ironed it out. But here we are again. And in this case, they've kind of switched the equation a little bit. But Intel presumably doesn't want to support older processors. What I'm sure they would rather have people do is upgrade to a new machine, buy a new Intel chip, and get the new version of Windows 10, which is frankly a little understandable. Because honestly, the experience on these devices is not going to be great. And Microsoft is probably saying, look, we'll ship it out as soon as you deliver the drivers that are compatible. So it's kind of a tough...
I guess the hardware manufacturer is usually responsible for the driver, right?
Yeah. I mean,
unless
fundamentally,
it's a graphics driver, right? I mean,
well, even then, no. I think NVIDIA does the drivers.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I think right. In other words, the hardware maker makes the driver. Microsoft puts it into Windows or deploys it through Windows Update or whatever it is. Microsoft probably has a higher bar for whatever quality,
Intel.
reliability than any of those companies, right? In other words, if it's going to go on the disks, not that there are disks, or if it's going to go through Windows Update, it probably has to be tested to a level that, say, NVIDIA or Intel
does
or
it have
whoever
to
might
be
not do.
what is it, WHQL? Does it have to still be
Yep.
that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, and that, by the way, manufacturers have to pay for WHQL certification.
Yeah, so I'm sure Intel's like, okay, these machines are like goofy tablets that nobody uses that have 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of eMMC storage, and who cares? And, I honestly kind of get it.
Yeah.
It's not a huge priority.
The question is, because of when Microsoft stops supporting certain versions of Windows 10, if you'll be one of the people kind of squeezed, right?
Yep.
So, like on my Acer S7, I haven't been using that lately, so I haven't checked recently. But as of like a few months ago, I still did not have 1511 on that. I don't think.
Oh, yikes! Really? 1511?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So that device isn't that old. And the question is, who hasn't done the driver that they need to do to make that work? And maybe since I have, like I said, I should probably retry again and see if they have updated it by now. But I think those are the people who are wondering, if Microsoft drops support for the version of Windows 10 because they only support 2 versions of Windows 10 at any given time, will I get stuck, right?
Yeah, you could. I mean, right. So that computer, you have a more compelling case to complain because it was a premium computer, which you paid a lot of money for. And if I remember correctly, Windows 8 or Windows 8.1 based when you first bought it, probably.
It was,
yeah. And how old was it? Or when did you buy it? 2000.
I got it like 3 years ago.
Oh, that's recent.
Maybe. Yeah, pretty recent.
So I wonder what's the support life cycle for this hardware from Acer, right? I have no idea.
No, I don't know either.
Probably not that long. It's like it's like, I mean,
the irony of this is one of the reasons the hue and cry doesn't get raised is because the people who are covering this, like you, me, Mary
we're
Jo,
not using this.
We don't update. We update all the time.
Okay,
we don't
but
use this stuff.
Seriously, if I wasn't moving, I would have seen this, because the thing Mary Jo is describing, I don't know that I had any computers going back to 15, like wouldn't install 1511, but I absolutely have sitting in boxes in Pennsylvania computers that had not at the time updated yet to the creators update. And that's something I kind of track.
Yeah.
And I don't know, actually, I don't think it's in the notes, but one of the goofy, I don't think it's in there, but one of the goofy side stories to that 50% figure on the Windows 10 is that AdDuplex, the company that supplied the data where that comes from, also noted that among the outliers on the creators update deployment is Surface Pro 3, a Microsoft product. Now, you might think that Microsoft's own PCs would be among the fastest to get the newest updates, but only 18% of Surface Pro 3s have actually received the creators update or are using it. They probably have not. I don't know if it's automatic. I don't know how they got it, but so, there's a very popular Surface device, 25% or 24% of all Surfaces in use, not getting the latest update too.
So I'm wrong. I just found my own story on this. I did get the anniversary update on the Acer S7. I think you said 1511, and I actually thought anniversary update anyway. That's what I was thinking. So I did get anniversary update. The thing I hadn't gotten was the creators update from March of this year. But you know what? I just got that on the HP Spectre recently. So it depends, right?
Let's say you don't get it, right?
Yeah,
I actually think
I don't get it.
Let's say you don't.
Too.
So what that means is 1 year from that release, because that will be 2 versions later, that machine won't be supported.
Right.
Is that right?
Yep.
So 2018. And you said you bought it what year?
I'm forgetting what year I bought it, but I think it was 2 years ago. 3 years ago.
Wait, did it come with Windows 10?
No, it came with Windows 8.1, I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was older than that.
I got to look for my own. Let's see, 2014.
2014. So that's 4 years of support, basically. Yep. Now, you could always roll it back to 8.1, right? So you could, and that would continue to be supported. It's kind of goofy, like that you could get more support out of an older version, but I guess that's the case. That doesn't seem right. It seems like
it does seem odd.
I don't think this is how it's going to work. I think you are going to get that update. I think you're going to get the next.
You are going to get that update, Mary Jo.
Oh, you're getting
it. I think I will. I think I will too. But it's interesting because when I got the Spectre to get the Spring Creators update recently, a lot of people were like, "Wait, you just got that now?" And that's the experience for many normal people who aren't rushing out to get the update, right?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Yeah. So somebody who's listening, Eliane, is saying you can still buy machines with Cloverview processors at Walmart now.
Right, of course. No, but of course,
yeah.
Also at 7-Eleven, next to the big gulp section.
But they're selling them. So
they're still selling them. So that makes this a little weirder too. If they don't get the update, right?
I should be clear about the Atom thing. I actually do think this is going to happen eventually. I just think it's not a priority for anyone.
Right.
Because again, if you're someone who's shopping at Walmart for a $200 computer or whatever these things are, you're not really living on the bleeding edge of anything. So, and I don't mean that facetiously. I mean literally. So you're not thinking about that stuff.
Yeah.
So
you
just get whatever comes on it and you use it and you run Word or whatever you do and you're done.
Yeah.
I think that's the whole thing.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's all. I think it's going to happen.
All right. Surface Pro problems are being fixed. As long as we're talking problems.
Let's just have a whole show of problems.
I think we do have a show like that. It's called Windows Weekly.
Yeah, it's turned into that.
No, this is reassurance for people who bought the new Surface Pro.
I know. Well, so these are the new Surface Pros, the new ones that just came out. There was a bunch of problems that began to be reported around June of people who are buying the newest Surface Pros, and the machines were automatically going into hibernation by themselves.
That's awesome.
And We don't know
you'd
how
be
many
sitting
people.
there using it, the screen
Yeah.
on, you're typing, and it goes,
Yep.
good night.
Yep.
It doesn't even go good night. It just turns off.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
not good.
No.
Yeah.
So we don't know how many people were affected by this. And Microsoft said, as they usually do, a small number. We seem to have heard from all of them who
A small
were
number
affected.
of all of them. Yes.
Yes. But last week, Microsoft on July 13th did fix this. They rolled out a new firmware update for the Surface Pros, and this supposedly fixes this hibernation problem. What was weird to me was they didn't really explain that this is what that firmware was.
I know.
Like if you went to their site and you looked at the Surface update history, it didn't say this fixes the hibernation issue. It had some weird generic
you got
thing.
the confirmation on this, though, right?
I did. Yeah.
So here's how we knew it was the hibernation fix, because they posted it to the Surface Update history website and to the Surface for IT Pros blog at exactly the same time, which they never do.
But they never said in either place what it was, right?
Well, I don't remember the wording, but it said something that it was relating something like sleep timer or some kind of phrase where it was like, obviously this is.
Yeah.
But you actually
anyway,
got confirmation, right? You asked.
Well, no. So I asked and I never heard back. But then I went to the place where everybody was reporting the problem. And the guy who originally said, we know it's a problem and we're working on the fix, actually posted on 7/14, the issue has been fixed. That's the only way I knew that this was that. And it was confirmed by Microsoft.
It's fixed.
It's fixed. So hopefully anyone who had this issue is no longer having it, and this really will fix it permanently, and it won't be a temporary fix.
I will say I have not heard anyone complain about this since the fix.
Me neither.
Which,
So
by
that's a
the way,
good
is
sign.
not an invitation to complain.
It's a good sign.
But actually, I guess if you're still having this issue, you should let us know. I have not experienced this on Surface Pro, but it only makes me think it may not happen to everybody. But I only have the one computer, so.
All right. And how about that light bleed issue that doesn't really exist?
It doesn't really exist, Leo.
Okay, just checking.
Well, you know this, right? You've probably seen a couple of computers in your day.
One
you
or
know
two.
that.
Yeah.
Probably a couple. You know, whatever. LCD displays or these type of flat panel displays housed in a thin and light form factor. There's going to be some light bleed under certain conditions, right? And so in Windows, for example, the way you can see this is to reboot and install an update. And, it goes to that kind of interstitial screen where it says, installing updates, please don't turn off your computer, 15% or whatever it is. And it will typically be like an opaque color of some kind, like blue. On such a screen, on one of the edges, you might see a little bit of, it's a little lighter, right? And that's light bleed. When you're running Windows, playing a movie, you get the desktop up, the taskbar running, whatever it is, you don't see this. If you do see it, then something is really wrong. You got to send that thing back. But people started complaining about the new Surface Pro, and they put photos on the internet. Here's what it looked like with Surface Pro 4. Here's what it looks like with the new one. And I'll just say this: I've been reviewing laptops for 18 years, I think 19 years. Average 12 a year. I see this kind of thing on computers and other devices all the time. The new Surface Pro is not better, worse, or anything than compared to other devices. It's not a problem. You don't actually see it when you're using the device. If you don't like it, I guess you could ask for a refund or whatever. But I don't mean to completely deny the complaints, but if you look at the complaints and you look at the photos, I just don't see the issue. And I look at my own machine, and
I think you start looking for that stuff, you're going to see it. It's I mean, it's,
and the first guy who wrote me about it, I looked at my machine, I wrote him back, and I said, I don't see this. And then I heard from a second guy, and I said, oh, that's interesting. And I went to search for light bleed so I could see what I had said to the other guy. And what I found was an email from 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, or whatever. Someone was complaining about it with Surface Pro 4. I thought, well, there you go. I mean, obviously, manufacturing things vary. You could get a bum machine, there's no doubt about it. But that bum machine could be an iPhone or an iMac or whatever, too. Light bleed occurs on any screen, or could occur on any screen. So I guess what I'm saying is, in my personal experience, one machine, I don't see it. I've seen it on different machines over the years. And when I look at the photos where people are complaining about it, I don't see anything to complain about. And I would tend to be very upset about something that was an issue with a manufacturing issue, like a pixel out or something like that. I wouldn't be able to deal with that. But I look at this and I just think,
Well, it's just all LCD screens seem to have this to some degree. And if you go on Reddit, by the way, light bleed is, everybody's bitching. I'm looking at this TV. This got light. Everything has a little bit because of the way the backlight
I'm bleeding
works.
all over the place.
But I agree. It's a matter of degree. It can be too much. So
yes.
Your
One guy who
mileage
wrote
may
me had
vary.
light bleed in the middle of the screen, and that's not really light bleed. It's like pass through light.
Crack or something. Yeah.
That's not. Yeah, that's. You might want to bring that one back.
Yeah. So no evidence that this is a big issue anyway.
That's my take on this. Yes, I mean,
Now,
again,
Mary Jo,
that doesn't mean you couldn't have a problem.
You got the red laptop, right? The Surface laptop.
The burgundy one.
Whatever that is. Yeah.
Wine
colored.
colored.
I love this color, I have to say.
Wine without an H.
Aw. More colors coming?
No.
Gosh darn it.
Well,
the
I like
weirdness.
this color, actually.
Yeah, I do too. Anyway, I'm sorry.
happy
Go ahead,
with this
Nancy.
one. I see here more Surface laptop choices coming.
Yeah.
So the only ones that came in all the colors were the i5 model.
Which was
And
goofy.
now they're that was weird.
You had to get that one model, which I got, obviously.
Yeah. But now
get
they're going to be
choices.
adding the colors to the
that
i7s.
makes sense. But that's good.
Yeah.
It is good.
If you're paying extra for the top of the line, you should be able to at least choose the color.
Yeah.
I have to guess that they pre-built what they thought would be the most popular configurations.
Right.
Satisfied that demand,
That's what
and then they started
exactly right.
applying it to the higher end, more expensive ones. So I just feel bad for anyone who might have bought one, because Microsoft never said back in whenever they announced this, May or June or whatever, hey, by the way, if you want an i7 with burgundy, hold off. They're coming in August or July.
Nice.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Would have been nice. Thank you.
I know. I did
Yeah.
have people say to me, wow, I wish I had known this sooner. I did have people say that.
Oh, yeah.
And,
No, they're definitely out there.
Yeah.
I think to me, the only issue still with this is the Alcantara and how well that's going to wear on this fabric right here. I mean, for now, it's luxurious and really nice. What is have you changed your tune, Paul and Mary Jo, on Surface hardware? I mean, we've talked about the issues with the Surface Pro. Remember, Paul and I had lots of problems with the Surface Book.
You had the hot bag, didn't you?
For 6 months it took Microsoft to fix that one, or 8 months.
So
I love the Surface. I'm going to say I love the Surface Studio.
yeah.
Did not love the Surface Book. I very much like the Surface laptop, but I'm not.
Yep.
I think there are competitors to this that might be a better choice for some people.
I think Paul was the one who said this to somebody on Twitter, and I think this kind of summarizes how I feel. I think Microsoft's making strides in making better and better hardware, but if you're comparing someone who's been in the hardware business 3 or 4 years to someone who's been in it 20 or 30 years, I'm going to go with the 20 or 30 as knowing more about how to make good hardware.
Right.
So when people say, would you recommend I get a Surface, blah, blah, blah. What I say now is I'm like, you know what? You should look at all the options, because OEMs are back to making really nice PCs. And if you don't find something you like as much as a Surface Pro or a Surface, you should go for that. But would I pay my own money for one at this point? No, I would not.
And,
They're expensive.
And somebody in the chat room was pointing out that I like the Surface Studio, but that may be partly because we replaced the hard drives with our own internal
That's right.
SSDs.
Yeah.
So
No,
it
I mean,
isn't as equipped. No, I love the screen.
every Surface device is awesome in some ways, right? They all have something, but all of them also have really serious and obvious flaws too, and it makes it kind of hard. The Surface Book and the Surface Pro 4 suffered from unbelievable reliability issues, which, if you don't experience, you're wondering why I'm even talking about this, because that's the problem with this reliability stuff. Computer A is fine and has been the whole time, and computer B will never work right. And that's the thing I think people don't understand. It's the sheer weirdness of it. I still love the Surface Book despite all the problems I had with it, because I have an unhealthy relationship with technology. But it has a great keyboard. It has a great trackpad. It has a great screen. I wish the screen didn't detach, because that's one of the huge areas of unreliability. Obviously the teardrop opening is goofy and it's heavy and big and all that kind of stuff. But
I just think I think there's no such thing as a perfect PC and a perfect time to buy one, right? Like you're always making trade-offs.
Yep. Yeah. If you're in a Surface Pro form factor, you have millions of choices, great choices. I just wrote a first impressions article about the new Spectre X2, which is an HP product, which is just like Surface Pro. It's way better than Surface Pro in so many ways, for example, and less expensive. But Surface Pro has some advantages. I mean, if you're into the pen, for example, that pen has 4 times the resolution, 4 times the pressure sensitivity, I should say, and supports tilt, which the HP device doesn't. You kind of go back and forth. It depends on what's important to you. There are the different materials. The Surface laptop's made of aluminum. The HP devices are often made of aluminum. The ThinkPad is made of composite materials. There's some aluminum in there as well. It depends. The magnesium Surface devices, because they're the color of the material in and out, if you scratch one, you don't really see the scratch. But if you want to kill the experience, by the way, and don't ever do this, but you can look really close at any magnesium Surface device and you'll see a million tiny cracks and scratches on the surface. I think it's awful when you do that. It's like taking a magnifying glass to your skin and realizing you're 175 years old or something. So yeah, it just depends on your needs and your budget. And
I never can recommend for somebody. Like when people say, "Could you recommend like what I should get?" I'm like, so what matters to me and what matters to you are completely different things. I'm sure, right?
Yep.
Like for me, weight, battery life. Those are my 2 big things, and a really good keyboard. I'd say those are my 3 absolute things. And they, how much I weigh each of those 3 factors varies, but like other people, it's like, well, I care more about X or Y, and I want to use it in this scenario. And I'm like, well, so I don't know what to tell you because none of those things matter to me.
I will say there has never been a better time to buy a PC than right now. There are so many amazing choices, and by what I mean by that are like really good choices, like choices that most people would be very happy with. A lot of these computers have nothing to do with each other than that they are computers. Like they're different sizes and shapes and form factors and all that stuff. Different weights, different battery lives, quad core, dual core, discrete graphics, integrated graphics, whatever. There's all kinds of stuff. Lots of good choices.
Well, that's the best thing about the ecosystem, the PC ecosystem. I mean, whatever you want. So for some people, a Surface is the right choice, but just because it's Microsoft, I guess the answer is just because it's Microsoft doesn't mean it's the best Windows PC for you.
Right.
No, and
I love my
maybe
Lenovo,
they get
my
it there,
X1 Yoga 2nd generation. I am in love with it still. I mean, it is a really nice system, and there's certain things about it that I like a lot, but it may not be what you like a lot. And you have the choice.
I review an X1, at least one X1 every year. That last year it was the Yoga. Actually, I think last year I did both, but this year I just have the non-Yoga, and it's perfect. Except it doesn't have a touch screen for some reason.
Yeah, I got the touch screen. I got an OLED.
I know
it's
crazy. It makes me crazy that it doesn't have a touch screen.
Yeah.
But other than that, perfect.
Yeah. No, it's a lovely system. Yeah. I'm very happy with it. But it's a trade-off. It doesn't have, a hello camera. It has a fingerprint reader. For some people,
which actually, by the way, I happen to prefer. But a lot of people would want the camera, and I get that. And you're right, it doesn't have.
I'm not a fan of the track point, but it does have the track point. Some people love the track point.
But it also has a trackpad. So if you want to use a trackpad,
you have the choice. Yeah.
It kind of goes back and forth. It's really interesting. Like, it depends on what you're into, obviously, but.
I like a 2-in-1 too. I have to say the convertible for me, I rarely do put it in tablet mode. I rarely use this. The fact is, it comes with a stylus. Not as nice as Microsoft, but it comes. But I rarely use it. But I love it. I've done the tenting thing, for instance, for watching movies.
Yep.
And I'm sure when I travel on a plane that form factor will be a good form factor too. So it's just it's. But the beauty is you have the choice. You've got these great HP Elite books. You've got the Spectre.
So if anything, HP makes too many computers. They can't even keep track.
Right.
There's LeapBook X360, there's Spectre X360, there's LeapBook X2,
if what you
if I'm not
care
mistaken.
about is screen size and a small form factor, the Dell XPS 13 is mind-boggling because it's no bezel, so it means you've got this huge screen and a small. I mean, you have the choices.
Yeah.
The hard part, frankly, is choosing. In the Apple world, well, you take what you get, and sometimes you go, that's the best you could do. Okay, I guess I'll take it. You don't get to make that complaint. And in a way, that's what it would be if there were only Microsoft making Windows computers.
Oh, jeez. Well, by the way, consider the controversy around the Surface laptop and how it doesn't have even a single USB-C port, right? I have heard every imaginable opinion on this topic. I have my own, obviously, but basically what it boils down to is either this is the worst design mistake Microsoft has ever made, or who cares?
I don't care.
There you go. I mean, that can help you make the decision too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do think you should get touch on every screen. Microsoft does touch on every
Anyone
screen.
normal would think that, Leo.
Yeah.
I do not.
What? Wait a minute. What? No?
Nope.
But you don't
so
use
here's why.
it. But just because you don't use it doesn't.
No, the reason I say I don't think it should be on every screen is because even though I don't care, the reason I think it doesn't help people is it makes the PC more expensive typically, and it makes it heavier. And if it's just like, oh, I sometimes like to touch my screen maybe just every once in a while, I think that trade-off is kind of a big trade-off to make for the weight and the price.
How much heavier does it make it?
Well, okay, so
I
don't think
know the
that
answer.
those issues are as big as they used to be, which is part of the rationale that, I mean, yes, I mean, I suppose if you're in the $200 to $300 range, that the difference in price could be enough to make you say no.
Yeah.
I think once you get into kind of a more reasonable price point, high hundreds, whatever, low thousands, those become kind of negligible. I don't remember the details off the top of my head, but a year ago there was an issue with a certain HP computer that didn't support, it was the pen layer, because there's the touch screen layer for touch, obviously, and then there's a layer for the pen, which are actually different things, and those do add thickness and weight and cost, and they couldn't fit it into the bezel, that kind of thing. And then eventually they fixed it because, of course, technology, that's what it does. Things become cheaper and thinner and lighter, and that's what happens over time. So I think that ultimately, though, for most people, it doesn't harm anyone being there. And the goofy thing about touch is that you will use it, if it's there, and you'll get used to it, and you won't even realize that you're doing it. And one day you'll be like, oh, I've been sitting here scrolling through the document with my finger. It becomes kind of seamless. Like you can move between the keyboard and the mouse, but you don't really think of it. No, okay.
I scroll with my thumb all the time, like it's just sitting there, and I just go.
Yeah. I know there are people who it's not part of my workflow at all. I have never missed it on the Spectre, and in fact, I like not getting fingerprints on my PC.
Yeah,
this is the saddest thing I've ever heard.
But Paul, that's again why we like the varied and huge ecosystem of the Windows world. Is that
agreed?
Different strokes for different folks. You get what you want.
You have that choice now. Enjoy it while it lasts.
If you don't want to stroke your screen, get a power to you.
Then don't.
Then don't. And you're right. You save a little money. I mean, but it's like for me, I love this OLED screen on the X1 Yoga, but that does add to the price.
By the way,
more significantly, cuts battery life significantly.
HDR screens are coming. I think some are already here.
No, this is HDR. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. You already got it. So I mean, there are HDR capabilities coming to Windows in the next version, and
nice.
That gets really interesting.
Yeah.
But again, not everybody cares about that because Mary Jo's just using Notepad.
Mary Jo wants a 10:7 matte screen on her ThinkPad P90.
Right.
No, you know what? I used to. You guys know I used to always connect a mouse to my laptop. I don't do that anymore. Now I use the trackpad because the trackpad on the Spectre is good.
Yeah.
And so I never even think to pinch and zoom on my screen. I just do it on the trackpad.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good point because the trackpad on PCs has been a big stumbling block for a long time. The trackpad on the Mac has always been pretty great. And I always travel with a mouse. And I will still very occasionally bring it out because I need to do some kind of graphics thing or whatever. But the truth is, on most trips, when I don't have a mouse in front of me, I don't take it out. The trackpad on whatever computer I have is good enough that it works fine. And that's actually a big change.
That is.
So I think we all agree that
choice
is a requirement.
Choice.
Choice is good.
Choice is good. Touch is not a requirement. Although
Paul, you want to hear a funny thing? So Paul wrote this. It's time to demand multi-touch on all portable PCs. Right after you wrote it, someone emailed me.
Took off for the castle. What were you doing?
Someone emailed me right after you published it and said, "Could you please talk some sense into your co-host on Windows Weekly about this touch thing?" I won't name names, but yeah.
Okay, fine.
I disagree with them. I think touch is fabulous. But, Apple doesn't. And the point is, again, if you want touch on a Mac,
buy an iPad.
They don't have a good answer to that.
Yeah, no, they don't. I miss it on the Mac. The truth is, those times when I do use a Mac, I miss it. It requires some investment, right? I mean, it's not just about making touch-friendly things, but you got to look at all your legacy UIs. Apple has a lot of tiny little or they're not even touch targets, but tiny targets that I even find hard to hit with a mouse. I mean, they'd be impossible with touch.
Yeah.
So it would require a big investment on their part.
Yeah, no, they're not ever going to do it for.
Don't say never.
I'd be shocked, but they've shocked me before. But for strategic reasons, they're not. They know where their bread is buttered.
So, Leo, what do you think's coming first? Mouse support on the iPad or touch support on the Mac?
I think, yeah. That's
Call in, readers.
No, they'll never put. No, neither. Neither. Right. But the iPad, what's happening is you're adding more and more features to the iPad that make it a credible alternative to laptop for some people. But Apple has this disadvantage because of this. They're the only ones that make any of this stuff. And they're never going to have enough variety in these. They know better than that. And I agree with them on that, to satisfy everybody. They're going to have to face the fact, and I think they already have, that some people are just going to abandon the platform saying, you don't have what I need. I want a convertible. I want a 2-in-1. I want touch. I want an OLED screen. Many of the things I got on the X1 Yoga are not, I'd never see on a Mac.
I know.
Right? So the question for me, I still prefer Mac OS, but the question for me is, can I live with Windows 10? Which is more important to me? The variety of, having USB ports as well as Type-C ports, having, all of these features. Is that worth it? Is that important enough that I'm willing to this minor difference between Mac OS and Windows 10? And I opted for Windows 10, and I haven't been unhappy. So I think that's a good thing for Microsoft, but it's not about Surface, oddly enough. It's kind of the old Microsoft.
This is the good news floats all boats kind of thing. I mean, obviously, from Microsoft's perspective, if the PC ecosystem is healthy, it doesn't matter if they're selling the computers or HP or whatever. Right. And God knows the PC ecosystem is healthy.
Right. Yeah. How are sales doing? Are they holding? Because they were going down a lot for a while. Right?
Yeah, they're still going down. Yeah. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it's low single digits. The most recent quarter, maybe 3%, something like that, 3-4%.
Well,
we should hear more about this tomorrow at Microsoft earnings.
Oh, right.
Yep.
We'll hear about how
what will happen with the earnings tomorrow.
Well, I mean, from
we'll hear
PC
lots
sales,
about
by the way.
Cloud.
Yeah, but I bet Windows outperforms the PC market.
Yeah, me too.
Somehow magically do that every quarter.
Mm-hmm.
Suspicious.
How do they do that?
Yep. We sold fewer PCs, but more copies of Windows. Wait, what?
What should we look for?
Tomorrow. They'll talk about the cloud run rate and how close they are to the 18 billion figure again. They'll talk about that.
Right.
We'll hear some news about Surface numbers for sure. And they should be up because they've launched. Well, let's see. This is for the quarter that ended in June. So March to June. Yep. Yeah. They did launch the Surface laptop in there, right? Which won't be a huge number, but
yeah, and technically the Surface Pro, right?
Pro, yeah. So they may get a little uptick, or maybe it'll be too late in the quarter for the uptick. I'm not sure.
I think
we'll hear about layoff savings, maybe.
Right.
Come up.
Right. We can look at their 10Q and find out that they wound down their phone business completely as planned.
It should be around now. Yep.
Should be done. Yep.
Yep.
But obviously the big thing is the drinking game we always have, which is how many times anyone says some form of digital transformation. You can expect to hear that about 152 times.
Man, that cannot be in the drinking game. Nobody will.
Nobody would live.
Nobody will survive.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things they might want to talk about is how the LinkedIn acquisition has gone.
They should.
How has that gone?
It's funny. Last week when we were going into the partner show, I was thinking, we've heard very little about what's going on with Microsoft integrating with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And the regulatory approval happened in December last year, so it hasn't been that long that technically they could be doing the integration work. But at the partner show, they announced the first of what they promised as 8 groups of integrations that were their top priorities last year. We heard about how they're combining LinkedIn's Sales Navigator and Dynamics 365 Sales application together into one app. That was the first thing that they had talked about that was on that to-do list that Nadella outlined. And then, interestingly, a couple days later, we heard the second thing be announced that was also on the list, which was a Microsoft LinkedIn app that will work on Windows 10 and integrate directly with Windows 10. So they've delivered now 2 of the 8 things that they promised last year, which, people are like, is that good or bad?
Yeah, it doesn't sound great.
It's not horrible, though, because if you look at what else was on that list from December, the next group of things are really big and hard. Excuse me. Like they're going to be doing a lot of integrations using the Microsoft Graph API, and that's how they're going to link into things like Outlook and Office, Word specifically with LinkedIn. So there are a lot of these integrations coming that are fairly complex to pull off, and I don't know if we'll hear about them at Ignite or not, but that seems to me like when they may have some kind of a progress report on that. Then there were also some things around lynda.com and how they're going to integrate that with their own training initiatives and materials, and we haven't heard anything about that at all, as far as I know.
They are a sponsor, though, Microsoft Learning,
yes.
And they have integrated it somewhat.
A little bit, right? Yeah, I mean, they've started, but I think everybody was waiting to see if what they had with lynda.com would supplant some of these things that Microsoft already had.
It's just kind of been mushed into.
It's a big pool, right?
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Active Directory, Office 365 integration with Enterprise LinkedIn Lookup. So the next group of things are harder, but I think things are happening under the covers. At least we're starting to hear about some of them. So that's good.
Good.
Yeah. But the LinkedIn app, by the way, Paul wrote about this a bit. There were some controversies around this app when it came out this week.
Yes, there were.
What happened? So this is a Windows 10 app?
Yeah, LinkedIn recently retired its Windows Phone app because all the kids are doing it. And then they came out with a Windows 10 app, which they're describing as a desktop app. It's actually a UWP wrapped app. It's Project Westminster?
Westminster. Yep.
It's a hosted web app that's been wrapped in, a UWP wrapper. So it only runs on the desktop. And it does offer some UWP integration features, notifications, and so forth, but it doesn't run on the phone. Now, the controversy there is twofold. One is this app is a web app. It's the website. So it's, they didn't even make their own native app for their own service. It's a little goofy. And if you're a phone user, you're like, well, the website works on my phone. Why wouldn't this thing work on my phone?
Yeah.
But, those apps don't target phone. They target x86 or whatever. So they've really made everyone really happy with this.
Yeah. It was funny. I saw so many people saying, yeah, but it's not a UWP app. Way to show the way, Microsoft. I'm like, wait a minute. It's like,
look, there are certain market realities. I don't know that we see a lot of hosted web app examples, but we do certainly see a lot do Centennial or Desktop Bridge examples. But
right.
I think this is the reality of the world. I mean, the truth is, I know Microsoft had some hope that developers were going to take their existing code bases and bring them to UWP. But what they're really doing is bringing their existing code bases to the store. And they're not, you can extend it from there with UWP features. That's one of the neat things Microsoft does provide. But they're not going to restart the thing. They're not going to, make a UWP version of this stuff in many cases. And Microsoft's not.
I think the LinkedIn website works fine.
No, by the way, you're right. That's what I mean, though. It is fine. Yeah. It's like, when you put an app in the store, if it's a desktop app or a hosted web app, right, you immediately take advantage of a lot of really neat stuff just by having it be in the store. As a user, you can take advantage of the fact that you don't have to worry about this thing being updated on the side if it's a Centennial app or whatever. It's a nice thing. Now there's stuff you can build on top of it, which we're not seeing a lot of, but actually Microsoft did do this. So for example, it supports native notifications in Windows 10. That's actually really cool. I think that's one of the things you talk. It makes it feel like a native app. Mm-hmm. It is a good feature. And so, when you say like, way to go, Microsoft, you're not showing the way. Well, I mean, in some ways they are kind of showing the way, because this is one of the ways, and they're showing how you can take this legacy code base and make it relevant in a new place.
Yeah, I think people just, they have an idea that UWP apps are the be all end all, right? And
well,
actually,
have you ever used
apps? Store apps are the be all end all, right? Like getting more stuff in the store, and it can be a wrapper type app. It can be, something ported over with Centennial. It doesn't have to be like 100% pure UWP to be usable and something you can access from the store. And I think people kind of get hung up on the idea of UWP is best because it means you can automatically go across all the different flavors of Windows. Most developers have not done that, who built UWP apps. Like, you see a lot of people who built a PC app that's a UWP app and they never made it to the phone, right?
Yeah,
and they're not going to.
There are these user bases out in the world, right? And there's some huge number of people that can access the web. And so it makes sense to target that group. It's a big audience. And then if you just look at like Windows, there are supposedly 1 million or 1 billion to 1.5 billion Windows users, but only a third of those are on Windows 10. So, are you gonna take it like iTunes or something, or Spotify or some hosted web app? You're telling me you're gonna restart that thing and target the 500 when you could target the 1.5 or the 5? Mm-hmm. I mean, people just don't do that kind of thing.
I know.
So, this is such a great approach to making those things that already exist better for those people who do want that Windows 10 thing. It's such a better solution than telling someone to start over from scratch, because the answer to that is always no.
Is no, right? Yeah. By the way, this just in, back to Creators Update and the naming.
Oh boy.
Peter Bright just posted this. The information about Microsoft calling this Autumn Creators Update in some parts of the world was incorrect.
Well, that's awesome.
And it is going to be called Fall Creators Update everywhere, Microsoft says.
So is his headline, screw the UK, Microsoft says?
His headline is, claiming, quote, mistranslation, Microsoft says even UK will get Fall Creators Update.
Oh,
wait a minute.
Awesome.
It's saying, but we know that's a mistranslation, but we're going to do it anyway? Is that what they're saying?
No,
they're saying it was a mistranslation that people didn't. Some people who reported this originally didn't understand what they meant. I don't know. In any case,
someone translated fall to autumn.
Lost in translation somehow.
Sure, it must have been someone from Boston. Even I don't understand these people anymore, but that's amazing because, if you approach this story from a sort of Microsoft as being US-centric, in many ways, acknowledging that people call this something else somewhere else, or that maybe it's spring somewhere else and still calling it fall, is even more US-centric, right? than accommodating those people who call it something else. For example, in Windows 10, there's an app called Movies and TV. And in the UK, they call that, I believe, Films and TV.
Because they should.
I guess.
In France, they call it cinema. Et télévision.
TV.
TV.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Well, the problem is more that fall is a U.S. word, and that it isn't even the fall in half of the world.
I think they should call it the I've fallen and I can't be creative update.
I've fallen and I can't be creative. I like it. But the good news is Skype is looking more and more like Snapchat, and you gotta love that.
Everyone loves it.
Everybody loves it.
Paul did.
Yeah. Did you?
Well,
you actually
love is a strong word. I am accepting of it, although I will say I was on my phone last night and it does a little squiggle thing when someone's writing.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
And boy, I'd like to turn that little thing off. So
they are, right? They're going to back down a little bit.
No. They're going to,
You're going to make it less Snapchat-ish?
less squiggly.
Yeah, kind of, right? I mean, they're claiming they're going to listen to users, and users are giving it like one-star reviews everywhere.
Yeah, and only then because you can't do 0 stars.
Exactly, or negative stars.
Negative stars. I'd like to have a scale from -5 to 5.
Yeah. Yep. No, they said going forward they're going to take users' opinions into account, and they did make some fairly small tweaks to it last week to try to make it a little more palatable. But
the big concern here is Windows, because they put this thing out on Android and iOS because it's a messaging app, and that sort of makes sense. But for those of us in the kind of Microsoft world, we know that the next step is the Windows 10 app, the one that's built into Windows. And this UI is coming to this thing. And everyone who sees this is afraid of that. And this gives us the hope that maybe they won't take that horrible, horrible leap.
Yeah.
They've really, I have to say, they left Skype alone for so long, and then they just really trashed it.
What I like about this story is that after secretly developing a new Skype UX for 2 years, Microsoft was surprised to discover that people didn't actually like it.
Yeah.
I know.
It's like,
that was weird.
If only there had been some way.
I'm less concerned about the UX and much more concerned about the quality.
Well, that's an ongoing
Skype is for you, Leo, because it still does that annoying kind of thing where I'll answer a call and it still rings a couple times on my phone. Or my personal favorite of all time, I could be chatting with Mary Jo or anybody for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, 2 hours, it doesn't matter. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of that, and I'll be on my PC, all of a sudden, when Mary Jo responds to something on Skype, my phone will start notifying me that she did that, even though we've been talking for some huge amount of time, and it has never done anything. It just like wakes up.
Yeah.
It's like they spin a little randomizer every time. Which one do you want to ring this on?
Yeah. Well, at least you can get it in your BMW, and I'm pretty excited about that.
We've all heard the joke about the difference between a BMW and a porcupine.
No, what's that?
No, it just might not be suitable for.
I think you may just believe that as an exercise for the listener. Look that one up. Google it. Google it.
I assumed everyone had heard that.
Google it. Yeah. I actually now know it. I remember it now that you mentioned.
Yeah. So, well, here's another way these guys can be distracted. I'm going to hold a Skype meeting in my car while I'm speeding down the Autobahn.
But wait.
Studies show that BMW drivers are actually jerkier than others. Yeah.
I thought when I first read this, isn't it just you can start a meeting, but it's not like you can like actually look at PowerPoint?
No, you can't. You can't present through that. That would be amazing.
Good. What a relief.
Oh, that's for V2, Mary Jo. You got to leave some wiggle room.
Lord.
But you could start a meeting.
I think you can join a meeting. It's like an audio call, right? The theory, I guess, is that. Although, could you imagine? I don't know how it works. I don't have one of these cars. No one does. They're like $90,000. But could you imagine a grid of people on a call, like in the middle of your console while you're driving?
I know.
That's
we are losing the work-life separation. It's bad enough that we're all doing work from home while we're not at the office. Now they want to snag you in that space between those two places. Right?
Everywhere.
You can't even have the 30 minutes of an audiobook on the way home.
There's no peace.
You have to deal.
Yes.
Yeah. It's tough.
But sadly, people spend so much time in their cars, and especially salespeople, right? And they probably are like, "Oh, I would love to have this," right?
But
they do, and they spend a lot of time on the phone. Yeah.
They do. So this is all part of, how Microsoft's been doing the connected car thing, or as they call it now, the connected vehicle thing. They have relationships with Renault and BMW and Volvo. And so Microsoft's idea isn't to put Windows in cars anymore. It's to try to get cars to connect to all their cloud services or use them in some way on the back end or in the car, like the Skype case.
Right.
And there was another announcement too that we didn't put it in the notes, but Baidu and Microsoft are doing a deal, which Baidu kind of tipped their hand about a week or so ago, but Microsoft has got Baidu now as a customer for Azure on the back end. And we don't know specifically what kind of services they're going to use, but it's for their autonomous car project that's called Apollo. And Microsoft said they're going to be using our cloud AI, machine learning, and neural network capabilities to make driving driverless cars safer. Driving driverless cars. You know what I mean?
By the way, driverless car would be the only safe way to use Skype in a car.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I think drivers should have to wear HoloLens the entire time.
Oh, man.
maybe helmets, maybe full helmets.
Yikes. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, this is all part of that, too. Just getting more Microsoft services connected to cars, however you can do that.
Office Mobile goes fluent.
Yeah, it's not that fluent, but
what is
I don't even know what Fluent is still,
what is
so I'm just going to say
so.
it.
Fluent is a design language. It's like the user experience in Windows. It's something that's going to occur over time, so that it's so haphazard the way they're doing this. But in this version of Windows, we're going to see an expansion of what they're now calling the acrylic material look and feel, I guess is the way to put it. So there are areas where today on the screen application windows are opaque, and in the future they will be translucent, and you'll see some of the screen underneath bleed in. And so if you think about the the Office mobile apps, there's kind of a recent pane over on the side. It's blue in Word, it's green in Excel, it's orange in PowerPoint. It has a list of the recent documents. In Windows 10 Paul Crater's update, that pane will be translucent. And that's what that means.
Yep.
Yep.
Blurry too? Or just see-through?
It's blurry.
Blurry and translucent. Nice.
Yeah, it's a win-win. I know. So let me ask you, so let me pose you a question that I sort of pondered aloud earlier today in writing. The Fluent design system, for all we know, is just for Windows, right? But does it make sense for Microsoft to make those applications consistent across platforms, bring that effect to the iOS and Android app, or does it make sense for the apps to be more consistent with the platform itself, that those things should look like iOS and Android apps?
So to date, their answer is the latter, right? Make iOS apps look more like iOS apps.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I think that's the right approach.
Yeah, me too. I mean, if you're using a certain thing, you kind of have an expectation that it will look like that. And you may never even use the Windows version, right?
Yeah, and not, maybe this isn't the greatest example. Well, maybe it is. The Office mobile apps on Windows 10, on Android and iOS, all look the same, actually.
Yeah.
And they have the same layout, the same basic tools, same ribbons and so forth. So I don't know if adding special effects to the Windows versions that maybe makes it prettier or uglier, depending on your point of view. And maybe that's the value add. So that's going to be why you use Windows or something. I don't know.
Outlook on Android and iOS have been updated as well.
Is that my story?
Yes, it is.
Snuck that one in. All right, so
you don't have to do it if you don't want to.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
No,
it just fits in with what you were just talking about.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's a simple kind of layout type thing. Mary Jo's favorite Outlook feature, I think, Conversation View, has been enhanced so that you can
hate it.
so that when someone puts a new entry into a conversation and that conversation goes to the top of your queue or whatever, your inbox, and you open it, it goes right to that place. So that's smart. And then they just changed the layout a little bit, so things are spaced out a little bit more, and you can see more of the current conversation than you could before. Is that what this story is? I think that was the story.
I don't know.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Good. Moving on. OneDrive is getting version history.
See, we buried the lead. This is the biggest story in some ways. This is pretty big. So right now when it happens, it will only be on the web version, although I would imagine this is going to come pretty easily and quickly to mobile versions, to the client on Windows. And I guess that's it. But OneDrive today has version history, but it only works on Office documents, which is a really curious limitation. So if you use text documents like Mary Jo does, or Markdown documents like I do, you can't take advantage of version history in the cloud. Starting today, they're rolling full version history out, meaning it will work for all files, regardless of what they are, that are stored in OneDrive. And so you can go back for 30 days, access a pane that shows you the the version history like we used to have in Windows in previous versions. Actually, we still have that. Sorry, it's called file history, but it's up in the cloud. And so this is kind of nice because it works cross device. But what we need, of course, because we never stop complaining, is native access to that functionality. So you want to have that version history feature available in the Windows client where it's in File Explorer or on a mobile device as well. And like I said, I think that's going to happen. But this, after OneDrive Files on Demand, I believe was the number one request from users. So they literally just knocked off like two of the biggest complaints people had about the service. It's good.
Nice.
Good move. Come on, give us some Xbox news, Paul. We can.
I said, so Mary Jo started the notes this morning, and I thanked her for that. And then I said, it's curious. You seem to have missed a rather major Xbox story for some reason. And then she laughed.
I said, really? Huh.
So there is, every month Microsoft does an update, a system update for Xbox One in keeping with what they're doing on Windows. Now, Windows Server, they've started naming these things differently than they used to in the past. But in keeping with that they're Microsoft, they are in fact completely different from what they do on Windows and Windows Server. So God bless you, Microsoft. The way they used to do things was they would call these things like the July update for Xbox One, without any indication of what year they were talking about. So if there was another July update, they would still be called the July. It would just be confusing. So now what they do is they increment the version number every month. And so now we're like Xbox One, whatever they call it, version 1707. And next month it will be 1708. Next month after that it'll be 1709, because that's, they do things differently.
That's the biggest story of the week, huh?
No.
Oh.
What's big about that is that you can now do custom gamer picks. And so here we are. What are we, 15 years after they came out with Xbox Live? You can finally take a photo of yourself and use it as your picture on Xbox Live.
What?
Yes.
That's insane.
I know. I know.
People are going to put pictures of themselves in there.
I think you could do a personal photo for private things before, but now you can do it for everything. So instead of having an avatar, instead of having one of their terrible, goofy graphics, you can literally use any picture you want. And I know no one's going to abuse it with horrible pictures of genitalia or anything like that, because that's not what Xbox people are all about. You're better than that.
No, you're better than that. You are.
So anyway, that's cool.
Will Microsoft censor these pictures?
Obviously, yes. They have to. It's going to be a horror show. But anyway, that just went live. It's happening. So, grin and bear it. The other thing they announced today was that the Xbox Live Creators Program, which Tom Warren reminded me they actually announced back in March, is now live. So if you are an individual and you want to target an Xbox Live capable game that will run on Windows 10 and be sold through the store, or run on Xbox One and be sold through the store, you can now do this. You don't need special permission. You don't need a special developer box, whatever. Now, this is a UWP game, right? Obviously, because it can run on both platforms. But this is a huge, huge change from the way this used to be. It was a very exclusive program. You basically had to be an Activision or something like that to get in. And now anyone can do it. Anyone today can submit an app to, the iOS store, to the Windows Store, and now you can do it with Xbox Live games as well. And you can take advantage of all the Xbox Live features that any game maker can use. That's actually really cool.
There's an approval process, I presume.
Oh, of course. You don't just get in automatically, but it's like any other App Store approval process. Right. Like anyone can do this, and there'll be a special part of the store for these creators games, I guess we'll call them.
And if something's UWP, could it be like Call of Duty quality, or does that limit it a little?
Yeah. Oh no, it totally could. It totally could. Yep.
So it could be any. It could be any style game. That's great.
Yeah. It's interesting on the UWP thing. Like, we don't have too many examples of super professional UWP apps. There actually are a couple, but for whatever reason, they tend to be big, goofy, finger paint type things. But actually, on the game side, you can see the Xbox Play Anywhere type titles that run on both platforms. Beautiful, is possible. So that's good. And then the other, just a reminder, because it is after the middle of the month, I have to go look this up. The games with gold titles have swapped over right to the end of month choices. I'm not actually necessarily a huge fan of either of these games, but there's a platformer called Runbow on Xbox One that's now available for free. And then Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, which is amazing. Apparently we have a Lego game for everything now. Actually, when are they going to do Lego Windows Weekly?
Oh, that sounds like fun. We could wait a minute. We'll get. I'll get Alex to work on it.
So it seems like
I bet he could. I bet he could do that.
Yeah.
We already have a Lego Brad. I think it's just a matter of time.
Yep.
Yeah. We're going to get to the back of the book. You have done your duty. You've completed all of the items on my to-do list this week. So now we take a break, and when we come back, your tips, your tricks, and some beer. But first, a word from Rocket Mortgage. The folks at Quicken Loans realized that the mortgage approval process was a little bit, shall we say, antiquated, a little 19th century. First of all, you had to go in person and see some guy. You had to get all dressed up, and you had to bring paperwork, and they might ask you to fax them some additional paperwork, and it might take days or weeks. Sometimes, in our case, the last loan I got about 3 or 4 years ago, Lisa and I bought our house. Took months. We were on vacation faxing them stuff from a cruise ship. Crazy. There is a better way, and it's designed just for you, the geek. So first of all, let me assure you that Quicken Loans, one of the best lenders in the country, and you can verify that yourself by going to the website and seeing all those J.D. Power customer satisfaction awards year after year. Number 1 in customer satisfaction on loan origination and loan servicing. So be assured this is a great company, and you're going to get a great loan. But the whole point is, in a very simple, transparent, fully online process that doesn't take months or weeks or days, but takes minutes. That's why they call it Rocket Mortgage. Lift the burden of going to the bank and getting a loan. You can do it all from your couch, on your phone, on your tablet, on your computer. You could do it from an open house if you wanted to. You see a place, you're looking at a place, you go, we should buy this. You pull out your phone, go to rocketmortgage.com/windows. You can, and what you might say, well, what about the bank statements or the pay stubs or whatever paperwork? No, they have trusted partnerships with all financial institutions. You just say, yeah, my bank is this, yeah, but this, and they get it all. Touch of a button, you're submitting all the information they need. Them based on your income, assets, and credits. They're going to crunch the numbers, and in minutes, give you a loan that's right for you. Completely transparent, very simple. You're going to have the confidence you're getting the right loan. Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. Apply simply, understand fully, mortgage confidently at rocketmortgage.com/windows. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. rocketmortgage.com/windows. And we thank them so much for making Windows Weekly, my little dream, a reality. And now Paul's going to turn it into a nightmare with his tip. Actually, I have a tip for you. It's the Emmaus, Pennsylvania tip of the week, the holiday refuse and recycling schedule. Just so you know, that's under What's New in Emmaus, which is our new segment.
There's so many woods there. I'm just going to dump stuff.
Yeah, why not? That's what everybody else
does. What's the difference?
Look at cute public library.
Sure.
Yeah, you have Swift 911, a notification program that will deliver recorded warnings to the entire community.
To the borough.
To the borough.
My wife told me that Emmaus was a borough, and I said, what are we, rabbits?
You're in a borough. And someday you're going to go, get this recorded Swift 911. Paul, it's in the house. Something like that. And
yep, it's going to be like a Siri voice.
Yeah. Paul. Found
I'm sorry, I don't understand your request. Call the police. I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
This is you're gonna have so much fun in the beautiful.
It's a quaint historic community.
1759. There's the fountain.
1759, please.
There's the water slide. There's the sign.
We have a house in Dedham that was built in something, 1624 or something.
Did George Washington? He didn't just sleep there. He was born there.
I think he fought battles there.
He fought battles. All right. Why don't you kick off the back of the book, Paul Thurrott, with your tip?
Yeah. So I don't remember if I used this as a pick recently or not, but Google recently released something called Google Backup and Sync that replaces 2 Windows utilities. One was the Google Drive utility, which works like OneDrive, and the other one was the Google Photo Uploader, which just, syncs your photos so they go up to the cloud. So now they have a single utility called Google Backup and Sync that does both of those things. It actually works with with Google Drive and or Google Photos, your choice. But it also offers this interesting other feature where you can arbitrarily choose folders to upload to the cloud. And so people have described this incorrectly as a complete backup solution for your Windows PC. It's not, because, for example, you can't sync the root of the C drive. You can't, create a system image or anything like that. It's not really that kind of thing. But what you should or could use, if you use Google Services, is point it to where your documents are, where your important personal files are, and you could sync that kind of thing. So I heard from a reader who said, I thought this was going to solve the problem that I have, which actually I'm curious if you guys, I usually don't make these interactive, but I am curious if you think that this is a thing that people need. He said, what I want to do is arbitrarily sync folders on my computer between all of my computers, right? In other words, instead of having like a OneDrive folder that I sync, I want to sync my documents folder, my desktop, and C/temp or something. I think that Apple does this on Macs with iCloud, I think. I looked at all of the sync clients for the major services that we get on Windows, and I don't believe there's a way to do this.
Most programs have a arbitrary list of folders they'll support.
Yeah,
like
right.
Dropbox supports a Dropbox folder. OneDrive supports a OneDrive folder.
Right,
if you want it to sync, you have to copy it to that folder. There are some services that do allow you to create arbitrary folders. I'm not clear if the Google service will do that.
Oh, no, it doesn't. I'm going to tell you how the Google one.
Desktops, and pictures.
No, but here's how that works. So you go to your first computer and you say, I'm going to sync desktop and documents.
Right.
Awesome. That's all I want. You sync it to the cloud. Now you go to your laptop. You say, I'm going to sync desktop and documents. And what I'm going to do now, obviously, is sync those two things together between the two computers. That's not how it works.
No,
if you go up to Google Drive, there's a PC folder, PCs folder. Under that, it says laptop. It says desktop. Under that, what you're doing is syncing two different things. So I could see this as a thing that Microsoft does in OneDrive for Windows, right? It would make some sense. We already have cross-device syncing. We already have cross-device document syncing through OneDrive. I mean, I could picture them doing this. And now that we've run out of things to complain about, I think I'm going to start complaining about this.
I mean, I can do this. It's funny because even with my NAS, I could do it with individual folders, but there's not a simple way to just say, these. I've been using because somebody asked me about it on the radio show, so I've been testing out something called Tresorit, Tresorit. Works with Windows as well as Mac and Linux, and it lets you set up a folder that syncs, that you can sync anywhere, right? Anywhere. So I can say, no, I want to sync folder XYZ on my PC with XYZ on my laptop, and it will do that. And it's trust no one, which is nice. So.
Oh, okay. I wasted some time over the weekend trying to use symbolic links to do this, because that's kind of a
that would be
a years old workaround for this kind of problem. I want to sync things, but that is so beyond the pale for a normal human being.
Windows
like it's just not
Windows. Should do it.
Yeah.
It should be.
So if you think about how they handled virtual desktops in Windows 10, you could kind of say, well, Microsoft could do this in a way that would make sense for normal people. So I suppose it's possible.
Feels like that's something an operating system should do.
Yeah.
They don't historically, because people had one computer.
Right.
But now we have lots of computers, not just one.
But Apple does it, right? Like you.
Not really.
I think No, I mean, I think you can sync your desktop and your document folders.
But you can't do arbitrary folders, which is what I want.
Oh, I see. Okay. Right. I'd be okay with just the high level, documents, pictures,
Well, I can
videos.
do that. Yeah, I mean, that's what Google. Oh, but Google doesn't do it down to the computer,
right.
Just up to Google. Yeah.
Yep.
That's an interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess Apple does do that. Yep. iCloud.
Yep.
App pick of the week.
Yeah, is apparently iCloud. Actually, that doesn't work on Windows. No, it's not. I did. By the way, I did test it. iCloud for Windows does not do that. We already mentioned this, but the Office mobile apps were updated, and God, you want this acrylic thing. It totally changes the experience. It makes everything better. It will make you want to upgrade to Windows 10. Anybody?
Oh, you lie.
No.
It makes it.
I was going to use
SQL
SQL Server.
Blurry and.
Yeah. See, look, it's blurry.
Blurry. Look at that.
Blurry.
Look at the blur.
Nice.
If you scroll down, you can see the old
blur.
version. That's not blurry.
Blurry? Not blurry.
That's blurry.
That's blurry. Not blurry.
Look. Game changer, Leo. Game changer.
Blurry? Not blurry. Very nice.
Everybody
is
says
it
to me
better
every
now?
time we talk about Fluent, they're like, "How can you not see this difference?" I'm like,
Oh, by the way, so we didn't
see
discuss
it.
this, but last week on Friday, we mentioned that they released a build. And
Right.
one of the things that was in the build, you must have seen this, Mary Jo, this is beautiful. They did a side-by-side comparison of how acrylic
Yes.
looked on the old build and how it looked on the new
Yeah.
build. I am positive those are
exact
the same.
same.
They are the exact same pictures.
exact
They're
same.
like, if
I'm
you
like,
look at the one on the right,
Punked.
it's not as noisy on the right. And I'm like, I am positive those are exactly the same.
I'm like, is this a mistake? Did they publish the same image
Yeah, are
in
they
both
spoofing
places?
us? Is this like a joke?
Where is
Yeah.
that? Is that a Microsoft Press site?
Yeah,
on-
if you go to
yeah, their blog.
blogs.windows.com.
I know. and
it's
then we got into this huge discussion on Twitter. Of course, Raph was part of it. A whole bunch of people were in it. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't look the same. I'm like, it looks exactly the same. And people are like, no,
Leo,
it
look
looks
for 16241, and then you'll see the post. And I thought it was right at the top. Yeah, it's right at the top.
It is right.
I'm looking at it now, and it's like, you got to be kidding me. Look, it's beautiful.
And somebody else said to me, if you were on a higher resolution monitor, you would see it more.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Maybe.
I don't know.
Mean, look
I
at
just
it.
am having
Is this
trouble really understanding Fluent's
that's it.
significance.
This is it.
Yep.
Okay, on the
Okay.
left before, on the right after.
If anything, the one on the right seems to have more banding to me, but
No, they're
I don't know.
identical, dude.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Okay, good. I'm not as
On
Crazy
the
as
left,
I
before. On
You know, I
the
mean, like
right,
sometimes you just stop and you're like,
after.
are they making fun of us? Like, what is
I know.
this?
I'm like, is this a test to see if
Okay,
we're actually
This one you can
reading?
kind of see the difference. It's a little bit less noisy.
Yeah.
A little bit less noisy. Not enough to like make me go, wow, I got to have it.
No.
But these,
Yeah, that's not a good example.
what are they?
I don't know. It's crazy.
They're messing with you, dude.
I know. That's what I thought. I'm thinking they used the wrong picture. I think they screwed up and duplicated it.
I don't know.
No, there's
I
a
was
difference, but it's
perplexed.
you'd have
Pretty
to be
subtle,
a
pretty
big time,
darn
All I'm
subtle.
saying,
big time pixel
is-
peeper.
Fluent is going to change everything.
Everything.
And you're going to need those little cheater glasses because you're not going to be able to see anything
I'm
correctly
going to go to
anymore.
the eye doctor and he's going to say, A or
Have you been
B?
looking at Fluent again?
A
Yeah.
or B?
I can't tell.
It looks the same, Doc. Good. That's exactly what we were hoping for.
Exactly.
And now our
Right, if you-
Enterprise pick of the week, ladies and gentlemen, from Mary Jo Foley.
Okay. This is actually a big deal, unlike some of the things we just talked about. SQL Server 2017 for Linux and Windows. There's going to be the same version for both. With I guess there'll be some minor differences, but it's actually the same code base. Is now at release candidate 1 stage,
Ooh.
which means it's almost done. This is really significant because it's the first version of SQL Server ever to run on Linux. It runs on Red Hat Enterprise Linux, Ubuntu Linux, SUSE Linux Enterprise Server, and on Linux Docker containers as well. It has been in test for a number of months. I think they said there were 8 technical previews before this. This is the first release candidate, though, and I believe, unless they have changed the guidance, that this is supposed to come out this summer in final form and be generally available. So in addition to supporting Linux, this version of SQL Server also includes graph data processing, adaptive query processing, and Python integration for advanced analytics. So there are a lot of new features in this. If you're interested in how they actually brought this to Linux, they used a technology that Microsoft Research developed called Drawbridge, which is a library OS that lets you run different operating systems on top of each other in kind of a virtualization mode. So yeah, there are some new features in the release candidate 1 that were not in the CTP versions, but I'll let you read on about that if you're somebody who cares about this. But anyway, we're getting closer to the next version of SQL Server, and a lot of people are very excited.
Nice.
Who are these
Codename.
people, Mary Jo?
Yeah.
Who are these people?
A lot of people. Everyone's saying it, Paul.
You know,
Sure.
so you know what's really interesting to me? I know this just because I live in New York. There are a lot of enterprises, especially banks, that use Linux, and they've been dying for an alternative to running Oracle.
Yeah.
So
This is why I start money under the mattress.
Yeah, this is where Microsoft's going right for the jugular.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Oracle
Codename. Everyone hates Oracle. Like when you talk to people, they're like, oh God, I'm so sick of paying maintenance to Oracle. Blah blah. I'd love to have a real alternative on the database front to Oracle. So, Microsoft's doing their best for you there.
Codename.
Codename. So I don't know if this is a code name or it will be the final name, but the name pick of the week is called ReasoNet, which is short for Reasoning Network. So this is interesting if you are into artificial intelligence and trying to follow what Microsoft's doing in this space, because they have a whole bunch of things going on. They actually have 7,500 people working in their AI plus research division now, which is a lot. One of the areas they're paying a lot of attention to is in machine reading. This came out this week when they had their faculty research summit. They had a couple of sessions talking about what they're doing in machine reading. So ReasoNet is one of the
that's not pronounced Raisinette?
ReasoNet? Raisinette? Isn't that a candy?
I think it's pronounced Raisinette. I'm going to go
the
for
one
it.
without the nuts.
Yeah.
Nope. You know what? It probably is.
Raisinette, that's awesome.
Raisinettes.
Oh my God.
Now we'll never be able to see that word the same way.
I ruined it.
This is something that Microsoft's been working on, and what it is a model that lets the inference process of human readers be mimicked by machines. So the idea is you could take something like an auto manual of like multiple hundreds of pages and feed it into the machine, have it read it, and then you will be able to ask questions to it. So instead of you sitting there looking through your car manual of multiple hundreds of pages to find out an answer, you'll be able to just say, how do I do X? And the machine will be able to tell you because it's read the manual.
And you can ask the machine. And I don't know why, but this ad is very appropriate on your page of a guy asking a goat.
Yeah.
What does that manual mean?
Exactly. Yeah, so we're going to hear more about this, I think, because Microsoft's doing a lot of work in machine reading. When they bought Maluba earlier this year, which is a deep learning startup, they are working really hard on the whole problem of machine reading. And there was a little hint earlier this year in a GeekWire interview with Bill Gates, where they asked him, what are you working on at Microsoft these days? And he talked about
Raisinets.
Yeah, Raisinets. My favorite candy.
We were all so confused at the time.
They're curiously refreshing.
No, he said we're working on finding a way to read text.
Oh.
That's going to have a lot of implications for Office.
He was working on this. There you go.
He was working on something related to this. So, yeah, this is why I picked this as the code name or name of the week.
I like it.
ReasoNet, however you would like to call it. There it is.
So before we get to your bear pick, I have some semi-breaking news, which is you said earlier that Microsoft had clarified the naming of the Fall Creators Update, which they did, and they emailed me about it. And it says, just want to let you know that this was a mistranslation on the website and has been fixed. The next update will be called the Windows Fall Creators Update.
Oh, boy.
Everywhere. So I wrote back and I said, so it won't be called the Windows 10 Fall Creators Update then?
Oh, dear.
Boy.
Oh, dear. You've poked the hornet's nest, Paul.
Oh, Microsoft. Clarity, not their middle name.
Everywhere.
I'm going to go ahead and assume it's actually the Windows 10 Fall Creators Update, but I'll just wanted to point out that's how they communicated it. Yep. Okay, sorry about that.
Anyway, at least they didn't call it Raisinette.
They did not.
Might as well.
Might as well. So get ready, because it's time for our beer of the week. Mary Jo Foley, you're going to pick a sour on a hot summer day.
Yeah. It's the perfect beer for a hot day, right?
It sure is.
My pick is a beer from Manchester, England.
Ooh.
It's called Cloudwater Bergamot Sour. I always thought of bergamot as something in Earl Grey tea.
Yes.
Like that's kind of how I thought about it.
Yes.
But I guess bergamot is a citrus fruit or part of a citrus
No, I think you're right.
plant of some sort. And the description of this beer is we used bergamot lemons in creating this beer. So
it's a lemon sour, really.
It's a lemon sour. It's a really, really light beer that tastes really lemony and delicious. It's low alcohol too, which is great. So it's a really good summer sipper if you can find it anywhere. It's been in New York the past couple weeks on tap in various places. So I know it's in cans as well. If you ever see it, Cloudwater Bergamot Sour.
It smells like a shandy or something with lemonade and beer or something.
It doesn't taste like that though. You know, like shandies are a little sweet, like almost like lemonade meets iced tea or something. And this doesn't taste like that. This tastes like a really delicious lemony sour.
It doesn't taste like bergamot. I know we just do not like Earl Grey.
I know, right? Yeah.
I don't like that flavor. Yeah.
No, it doesn't though. It tastes to me. It just tasted like lemons. So
good.
Yeah.
Good. This sounds good. And it's got a big lemon on the can.
It does.
Yeah.
Yep.
Friends, neighbors, Romans, countrymen, we've come to the end of another fabulous edition of Windows Weekly. Yes, they said we couldn't do it, but we did. We do the show every Wednesday, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. If you want to stop by and say hi, you can join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. But, of course, the real point of this is to make on-demand versions available. Podcasts, we used to call them back in the good old days. And you can get a copy. Just go use your favorite podcast client. You know, whatever way you listen to podcasts, and subscribe to Windows Weekly. Or you can come to our website, twit.tv/WW, and get it that way. Paul Thurrott is
crazy kids.
Crazy. They're crazy these days. Paul Thurrott is at THUROdoublegood.com, Thurrott.com. He also publishes his books at leanpub.com. And he's here every week because he's got nothing better to do. Although, when do you leave for Barcelona?
Sometimes I just sit here in front of the screen without even just talk to myself. You know? Yeah. When do I leave? About a week and a half.
Okay. But you'll be doing the show from there? Or should we get Brad Sams? Did somebody say Brad Sams? Should we get Brad Sams?
No, I'm only gone for 2 weeks. I think I'm just going to do the normal schedule.
Good. You can have a little paella while you're doing the show.
Right.
Yeah. Yum.
No rice, Leo. No rice.
No rice. Oh, that's right. It's a carb.
Oh, you could have cider, Spanish cider.
You know what's going to be a problem actually is everything. Sangria.
No, you know what's not going to be a problem? Ham. Iberico.
I probably won't try to smuggle anything back this year like we did last time. My wife and I got busted in customs. My daughter was trying to crawl under a table. Yep.
You can't bring in a ham. Everybody knows you can't do that because everybody tries.
No, now we know. Well, of course we know. We smuggled it into our laundry.
Did you have it wrapped up in your dirty undies?
Well, I'd rather not discuss the details of where it was, but the point is they have dogs and
they can tell a mile away. They know. The dogs love jamón ibérico. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's great. Well, Paul Thurrott will be back. Mary Jo will be back next week, too. She is at allaboutmicrosoft.com. That's her ZDNet blog, and she's enjoying summer in the city.
Oh, man, it's so hot today.
It's supposed to be 1,000 degrees there today.
It is. Yep.
Thank you for being here, everybody. We'll see you next time on Windows Weekly. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Good job.